You're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show.
The view from our side of the cockpit door.
WAPG. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Airline Pilot Guy, episode 705.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the Airline Pilot Guy.
Hello, you're listening to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. The view from our side of the cockpit door, with your host, Captain Jack, broadcasting live from APG headquarters in Roswell, Georgia. Today's show is recorded the week of April 20th, 2016. In today's episode, a series of close calls. One at JFK, where an arriving flight that's going around heads toward another arriving flight.
And Brickyard 40, you have traffic go up your right side immediately. It's safe at 2,000 feet, sir.
And in Nashville, controllers send an arriving flight that's aborting its landing into the path of a departing flight. Also ahead, more news, your feedback, and today's plane tale. So get all settled in. Tray tables and seat backs in the upright and locked positions. Electronic devices powered on. I'm Radio Roger, and Flight 705 is ready for pushback.
Thank you, Radio Roger. He's an award-winning TV and radio reporter, currently at the #1 all-news station in the nation, 1010 Winds on 92.3 FM in
New York City.
Welcome to the Airline Pilot Guy Show. It's an aviation podcast covering the latest in aviation news and answering your great feedback. I'm Captain Jeff, a former U.S. Air Force pilot and retired Delta Airlines captain. And joining me from his Garden View studio,
in Hartford, Hereford, and Hampshire,
retired professional dog photographer, former RAF RAAF fighter pilot, retired Airbus A330, A340 captain for Virgin Atlantic Airways, is Captain Nick.
Hi there, Jeff. Lovely to be back on the show. And hello, everybody. You get quite a lot for your money nowadays, don't you? APG 705, our show number today, reminds me of FedEx Flight 705. That was the one where the flight engineer, Aubrey Calloway, who was a jump seat passenger, tried to kill the operating crew and then himself by crashing the DC-10 freighter in an attempt to bequeath a large insurance payout to his family. Despite causing dreadful injuries to the Flight 3 flight deck crew, they succeeded in fighting him off and successfully landed the aircraft. The attack happened back in 1994, and afterwards Calloway was convicted of attempted murder and is still behind bars serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Now, the whole story, if you're interested, is on APG 384. Back in 2019, with a plain tale entitled Kill Him, Kill Him, Kill Him, Kill Him, which tells the entire story.
I thought it was just my co-host saying that about me.
Well, yeah, I think, well...
All right.
I think you'll be all right.
the cat.
Your cat, exactly.
But with a knife.
But with a knife.
Yeah, with a stabbing knife.
Oh, my gosh. We're already coming up with the title and the artwork, and we haven't really even started the show yet. So let's continue with the introductions, shall we? From his home studio in Huntington Beach, California, current first officer on the Airbus A320 family at a major U.S. carrier. I think that's the best one. Volunteer flight instructor and check pilot with the Civil Air Patrol. It's RJ.
Hello, how's everyone doing? Happy to be here. I'm once again, unfortunately, I won't be able to stay very long today, but I am happy to stay as long as I can. Thank you.
Well, as long as you can be here with us, we'll cherish. And also joining us from his home studio, way over there on the almost the other side of the world, from his home studio in Hamburg, retired Lufthansa 737, A300, A340, A380 captain from Germany. It's Captain Steffen.
Hi, everybody. It's already 10 o'clock here at my time, so I don't know how long I'm going to stay here with the show. Maybe someday you see
someone sleeping here, but I'm very happy to be here. Thank you very much.
We're very happy to have you with us. And we'll probably adjust the feedback so we play the piece of feedback that you sent in for us, Captain Steffen, before you leave the show, okay?
Okay.
All right. And also from her studio in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, retired financier and aviation enthusiast, spreadsheet master, and our producer, it's Liz Piper.
Here I am. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. And you guys behave yourself now. We don't have stuff again this week.
We'll try. Okay.
All right. Take care, you guys. I'll see you later.
Okie dokie. All right. What do you guys think? You want to do some news?
Yeah. Go for it.
Stand by for news.
All right. We're going to start off the new segment with this preliminary report that was just released by the National Transportation Safety Board. It regards the collision at LaGuardia between the Jazz CRJ 900 and the air rescue firefighting fire truck. On March 22nd, 2026, at 23:37 Eastern Daylight Time, Jazz Aviation Flight 646, doing business as Air Canada Flight 8646, a Mitsubishi Heavy Industries RJ Aviation, formerly Bombardier, CL600-2 Delta 24. Let's just call it a CRJ 900, shall we?
That's good.
Registration Charlie Golf November Juliet Zulu was substantially damaged after it collided with Rescue 35, an Oshkosh Stryker 1500 aircraft rescue firefighting vehicle, while landing on runway 4 at LaGuardia Airport, New York. The captain and first officer were fatally injured, sadly. Of the 2 flight attendants, 72 passengers, and 2 crew of the ARF vehicle, 39 were transported to local hospitals with 6 serious injuries reported. The airplane was operated as, a Part 129 scheduled flight from Montreal Trudeau International Airport and Montreal, Quebec to LaGuardia. 129. I've never heard of Part 129.
I think that is the Canadian equivalent of the 121.
Ah, thank you.
Because slightly different.
Okay.
Thank you,
RJ. See, that's why we have RJ on.
Yeah.
For that kind of information. The National Transportation Safety Board traveled to the accident site and invited qualified parties to participate in the investigation. These included the Federal Aviation Administration, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association, NATCA, the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, the Sergeants Benevolent Association, and the Police Benevolent Association. In accordance with the ICAO Annex 13, the Transportation Safety Board of Canada assigned an accredited representative to the investigation, as the airplane was both manufactured and operated by companies based in Canada. Yeah. Okay, that's enough of that. The parties and the airplane's cockpit.
I have a little correction to make.
Oh, okay.
The 129 is actually an FAA part. It's actually a CFR Part 129, which governs foreign carriers operating in the U.S. airspace. So, any foreign carrier will operate under
Not
129
just Canadians,
in the U.S.
Any foreigners.
Well, that's a good clarification.
Yes,
Thank
I think, yes. We got to stay above 50%, so...
Well, we try. It's kind of difficult.
It is very difficult, yeah.
But there you go. There's our 50% guarantee showing up on the screen.
Thanks to RJ.
There we go.
Thank you, RJ, for that.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. Back to the preliminary report. The airplane's cockpit voice recorder, flight data recorder, and quick access recorder were recovered and downloaded. And they transcribed
What's a quick access recorder?
Quick access recorder. I don't know. Do you know, RJ? What a quick access recorder is? Or maybe Steffen? Anybody?
Well, we had on the old 7.3 we had a quick access recorder. It was just a little plug-in attached to the airing system, and was collecting continuously data from all the buses. It's not protected by anything like a black box or red box, whatever we call it. So it's just a little memory device continuously collecting all data of the airplane. It's going to be regularly used by the maintenance, for example.
Cool.
Oh, okay.
Quick access recorder. That's
Correct.
That's the abbreviation of that.
And the big difference between the flight data recorder and the quick access recorder is the flight data recorder is crash proof, if you will. It's protected against crashes, but the quick access recorder is not. So in a crash, you could lose it.
Okay. Well, good.
That's
a great clarification.
But it's made for quick access, yeah.
Okay. Nice. Okay. Let's continue with the history. A review of preliminary airplane and ARF vehicle tracking data, ATC and airplane CVR audio recordings, airplane flight data recorder information, and surveillance video revealed that prior to the accident, 6 ARF response vehicles, 4 ARF trucks, a tool truck, and an air stair truck, and 1 Port Authority police vehicle were responding to an emergency that was declared at 23:31 and 42 seconds near Terminal B. Let's see, at 23:35 and 7 seconds, the ATC local controller, also known as Tower, cleared Jazz Flight 646 to land on runway 4. At that time, the flight was on a 5-mile final at an altitude of about 1,900 feet. At 23:35:28, the accident ARF vehicle, R35, left the fire station area along with the other 6 vehicles. Jazz Flight 646 was about 4.6 nautical miles from taxiway Delta at an altitude of about 1,500 feet. The vehicles initially gathered near the intersection of taxiways Bravo Bravo and Delta, shown as green circle in Figure 1. The intended path was to continue on taxiway Delta, cross runway 4, depicted with the dashed arrow, and then proceed to the destination noted on the right side of Figure 1. Okay, so that's that yellow circle on that picture. At 23:35 and 47, the tool truck, call sign Truck 7, which was planned to be the lead vehicle, crew attempted to call the LaGuardia ATC Tower. However, a simultaneous radio transmission on the same frequency obscured Truck 7's radio call. R35 entered taxiway Bravo Bravo. Another airplane that had landed on runway 4 crossed taxiway Delta, and Jazz Flight 646 was about 3.7 nautical miles from taxiway Delta at about 1,180 feet altitude. Let's see, about 35 seconds or so later, Truck 7 tried again to contact the tower. Before ATC responded, Truck 7 coordinated with R35, call sign Truck 1, to contact the tower. Jazz Flight 646 was about 2.3 nautical miles from taxiway Delta at about 650 feet altitude. At 23:36:44, the tower asked which vehicle needed to cross the runway. At the same time, Truck 1 moved to the front of the waiting response vehicles at the intersection of taxiway Bravo Bravo and Delta. Jazz Flight 646 was about 1.5 nautical miles from the taxiway Delta and 400 feet altitude. At 23:36:51, the red runway entrance lights, which we'll talk about here soon, RELs, discussed later, illuminated for the intersection of runway 4 and taxiway Delta. Jazz Flight 646 was about 1.2 nautical miles from touchdown, or actually from taxiway Delta at 287 feet altitude. Truck 1 was stopped on taxiway Delta, about 460 feet from the edge of runway 4. At 23:36:56, Truck 1's crew replied to ATC with, quote, Truck 1 and company, and the tower acknowledged. Truck 1 then requested Truck 1 and company to cross runway 4 at Delta, and the tower instructed them to cross. At that time, 23:37:04, the airplane was at an altitude of about 130 feet above the ground, so we're getting close to the ground here in touchdown, about 1/4 mile on final approach, which was about 4,400 feet away from the taxiway D intersection. Okay, at 23:37 and 07, Truck 1's crew read back the clearance, began to move along taxiway Delta towards runway 4. Jazz Flight 646 was about 3,700 feet from taxiway Delta at 87 feet. Then at 23:37:11, Jazz Flight 646 crossed runway 4's threshold. Truck 1 was traveling at a speed of 10 knots, about 11.5 miles per hour, at about 410 feet from the edge of the runway 4. So they haven't entered runway 4 yet. At 23:37:12, the tower gave a taxiing instruction to another airplane, I think Frontier, and immediately afterward instructed Truck 1 to stop. As the truck was crossing taxiway Alpha Alpha, Truck 1's speed continued to increase. Jazz Flight 646 was about 50 feet from taxiway Delta at about 30 feet altitude and 133 knots ground speed. 5 seconds later, the airplane's main landing gear touched down at about 1,450 feet from taxiway Delta at a ground speed of 128 knots, and there was a transfer of control from the first officer to the captain. At that time, Truck 1 had crossed the hold short line at a speed of about 24 miles per hour. Okay, that's when they were touching down the main gear. The tower again instructed Truck 1 to stop. At this time, the airplane's brake application began and the thrust reversers were deployed. Truck 1 was just over 100 feet from entering runway 4 and traveling at about 29 miles per hour. Okay, so they've already touched down, they're already applying brakes, and Truck 1 has not yet entered the runway. And then just a second later, the RELs extinguish. Roughly 2 seconds before the collision, the airplane's nose landing gear touched down while the airplane was about 400 feet from taxiway Delta at a ground speed of 106 knots. Truck 1 was traveling at a speed of 30 miles per hour and just entering runway 4. Truck 1 turned toward the left just prior to the collision. The airplane's rudder deflected about 6 degrees to the left just prior to the end of the flight recorder data. The collision occurred at the intersection of Delta and runway 4, denoted by the red star in figure 1. The airplane's last recorded ground speed before the collision was 90 knots, which is 104 miles per hour. The airplane came to a rest adjacent to taxiway Bravo between taxiways Delta and Echo, upright on a heading of about 28 degrees magnetic. Initially, it was in a nose-down attitude due to the crush damage and partial separation of the forward fuselage and nose landing gear. Truck 1 came to rest just northwest of the airplane on its left side on a heading of about 206 magnetic. Passengers self-evacuated through 4 overwing exits. The ground vehicles redirected from the emergency at Terminal B to the accident airplane, and ARFF personnel assisted with the evacuation. During the evacuation, the airplane tilted nose upward until the tail contacted the ground. So they talk about the reviewing the ARF, or multiple members of the ARF crew. The driver of Truck 7 reported hearing ATC clearing Truck 1 and company to cross runway 4. Shortly thereafter, she saw the airplane and announced, "Stop, stop, stop," on the radio. There are no recordings available for the inter-ARF communications. So that was not on the aviation frequency, but on their inter-ARF frequency. The turret operator in Truck 1 recalled hearing the word "stop, stop, stop" on the tower frequency radio, but he did not know who that transmission was intended for. He subsequently heard Truck 1, "Stop, stop, stop," and realized it was for them, and subsequently noticed that they had entered the runway. He further recalled that as they turned left, he saw the airplane's lights on the runway. The airplane's CVR captured the communications between Truck 1 and tower that were transmitted on the tower frequency, including the request and clearance to cross runway 4. So that the aircrew heard this. The aft flight attendant reported getting in the aft jump seat for landing and described the flight as normal until he felt an impact and jar. He did not know what had happened, attempted to call the pilots, received no response. He reported the conditions were dark, but passengers deplaned orderly through all exits. He stayed with 4 passengers in front of the airplane until ARF entered and assisted him and the remaining passengers to the exits. Okay. Anything else that's significant here? Let's talk about, I'm going to skip down maybe to, there was some discussion when we had talked about this initially about, was there fatigue involved? They don't, in the preliminary report, they don't really come to conclusions. They just kind of state facts as they know them at the time. And they do talk about the aircrew's flight schedule. The accident flight occurred on the first day of a 4-day trip. The first day had 3 flights. The accident flight was the last scheduled flight. The first flight was from Montreal to Quebec City. The second flight was from Quebec City back to Montreal. And then third flight was from Montreal to LaGuardia. The crew flew together one other time on February 11th, 2026. They flew 2 round trips to Montreal and Quebec City. And Liz is telling us that those are, very short flights between Montreal and Quebec City. So little hops and hop and jump.
Yep.
And but they don't talk about exactly how long their duty day was in this information. But I think they're trying to give us the idea that it wasn't a long day, that there were just 2 short flights. And I don't think that the flight from Montreal to New York is that long. I mean, I don't know. RJ, do you remember about how long that might be?
I don't, but it's not that long at all. I think it's probably at most like hour and a half at most. Yeah.
Okay.
It's not very long.
They talk about the crew experience. The captain was pilot in command, was hired December 12th, 2022, and was upgraded to captain in December of 2025. The pilot in command accrued a total of 3,560 flight hours with 1,600 hours while at Jazz. The first officer was hired on April 22nd, 2024. The FO had accrued a total of 718 flight hours with 435 hours while at Jazz. And the ARF crew, the Truck 1 driver had 3 years of ARF experience, had been on duty for about 5.5 hours while on a 12-hour shift, so about halfway almost. The turret operator had 12 years of ARF experience and had been on duty about 4.5 hours of a 12-hour shift. The ATC controllers, there were 2 controllers on duty in the tower at the time of the accident, consistent with the mid-shift basic watch schedule. Both were qualified and current on all control positions at LaGuardia. The tower controller, who had about 18 years of experience, was responsible in part for the arrival and departure of aircraft on assigned runways, aircraft operating within assigned airspace, and all runway surfaces. The tower controller had been on position for about 42 minutes at the time of the accident. The ground controller was also the controller in charge, had about 19 years of experience, and was responsible in part to taxi aircraft on a first-come, first-served basis as circumstances permitted. The ground controller in charge ensured that the instrument landing system critical areas were protected, sequenced departure aircraft, provided guidance and goals for the shift, monitored and managed traffic volume and flow. He was on position for about 51 minutes at the time of the accident. So they were pretty fresh, at least as far as their duty is concerned. They had just started less than an hour before. Prior to the accident, the ground controller in charge had been coordinating ground operations with an airplane that had performed 2 rejected takeoffs, followed by a ground emergency at Terminal Bravo, which included communicating with the airplane that declared the emergency, ramp operations, and ARF. As he continued to coordinate the emergency, the tower controller took over transmitting air traffic control instructions on both ground control and local control or tower frequencies. So here's, I think that's something that's going to be, important in this investigation: the airport surface detection and runway status lights. The airport was equipped with the Airport Surface Detection Equipment Model X, we call it ASDX, which was a surface surveillance system used by ATC to track surface movement of aircraft and ground vehicles. The system collected data from surface surveillance radar, multilateration sensors, automatic dependent surveillance broadcast, ADSB sensors, Mode S transponders, and terminal automation systems. It fused this information into a display in the control tower, allowing controllers to see the real-time positions of aircraft and vehicles on the airport surface, even in low visibility. And there were multiple ASDX displays in the control tower. ASDX provides visual and oral alerts when it detects potential runway incursions or conflicts, giving controllers the ability to intervene before an accident occurs. And basically, I'll summarize here. They said that there were no alerts given because of the inherent difficulty of the system to track vehicles that don't have transponders and only using some radar return information, and because there were so many vehicles kind of bunched together. It was, I think, confused about what these vehicles were doing. So it didn't give a super accurate display of the 7 ground vehicles waiting to cross the runway. And so it couldn't make sense of it. And so it didn't issue any kind of an alert. I guess, do you guys agree that that was a decent summary of the ASDX system and the surface?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and here we go. The lights. The airport was one of 20 airports in the U.S. Equipped with a runway status light system, which provides airplane and ground vehicle operators with a real-time warning about potential conflicts at runway taxiway intersections. It includes RELs installed at most taxiway runway intersections, which illuminate to red to warn taxiway traffic whenever runway traffic is approaching the intersection. A depiction of these lights is shown for the intersection of taxiway Delta and runway 4 in figure 8. These lights are located along taxiway center lines from the hold short lines to the runway edges, with another on the runway center line. They are focused away from the runway, such that when activated, they are visible to the traffic on the taxiway approaching the runway. These red lights are off when no runway traffic is approaching an intersection. They are automatically activated by ASDX system when an airplane is approaching a runway for landing or on a runway preparing to take off. As a landing airplane approaches the runway, the RELs of each of the equipped intersecting taxiways along the runway are simultaneously illuminated to warn potential crossing traffic about the landing aircraft. After an airplane touches down, the RELs turn off at each taxiway sequentially as the airplane progresses down the runway. The system is designed to turn the lights off about 2 to 3 seconds before the airplane reaches each intersection. A review of airport surveillance video recordings revealed that the RELs illuminated for the arrival of the accident airplane. Truck 1 and company were stationary in the vicinity of taxiway Alpha Alpha and taxiway Delta intersection, about 300 feet away from the runway 4 hold short line on taxiway Delta. The RELs on taxiway Delta remained illuminated until about the time Truck 1 reached the near edge of runway, when they extinguished, about 3 seconds prior to the collision. Figure 9 shows surveillance videos of the RELs both when off and when activated on taxiway Delta east of runway 4. Okay, then they talk about the weather. The weather was light rain, it was dark, it was night, 7 statute miles, light rain, scattered clouds at 6,000 feet, overcast at 9,500. Braking action, let's see, good braking action was reported along the entire runway. Okay, so that was a lot. Now I'm going to shut up and let my distinguished co-hosts discuss this and what they think really jumps out at them.
So this is interesting because I think we can all agree that the clearance that the fire trucks got from the local controller is probably the worst of all the errors that were made. But there had to have been a number of other omissions or errors that occurred after that point that allowed the aircraft to get to the fire truck to get to the position where it collided with the aircraft. Just off the top of my head, the RELs seem to be a very important omission. They're there to do to prevent exactly what happened. They're there to remind or to indicate to any vehicle or aircraft entering the runway that it is dangerous to do so. They're red, they're on the center line, and all that. I don't know, but I would have, if I designed this, I think I might have put them across the taxiway, not in the center, but I suspect that it's because it's an add-on, they just wired it into the existing runway lights power supply, and it was just easier that way. But I don't think it's as clear perhaps as it could have been in its design. But if you're trained to look for those before you enter a runway, in your little checklist that goes through your mind, I'm going to enter this runway now, I'm going to look to see if there are any reds, I'm going to get a clearance, so we've got a clearance, and I'm also then going to look down the runway. So we've got another error then. So they didn't spot the aircraft. In fact, the only one that we know spotted the aircraft was the guy up in the turret, and it was way too late to do anything about it at that point. The pilots, what's that lovely phrase that we know where you say, don't speak ill of the dead, de mortuis nil nisi bonum. You do that, but in order to educate ourselves and the next generation of people working on airports, we do need to say that the pilots had the opportunity to hear that vehicles had been given a crossing clearance on their runway. So, and these guys presumably had their beacons going, their flashing lights going, as all fire trucks do when they're moving around. So that would have been a visual indication as well as the radio indication. And it happened relatively close to the actual, landing point. It wasn't like it happened miles away. It relatively close to them arriving at the runway. They had time to digest the information, go, oh, that's our runway, question air traffic, or if necessary, just perform a go-around. There is that option. Whether there's anything else concerning the transponders, I realized that the transponders could have given the controller an additional warning that there was a potential collision, but a number of people had already sussed that there was an issue. So one of the fire trucks tried to make a transmission. The controller tried to make several transmissions that weren't all as clear as they could be, because without including the fire truck call sign, it's just making a general broadcast. You're about to crash. Yeah, who's about to crash? So, even in a moment of, I won't say panic, but stress, you've still got to stick to your RT discipline, make sure the person who is getting the message realizes it's for them. And undoubtedly that message got through because people on that fire truck did hear it. I think those communications could be improved. The fact that the vehicles needed transponders, and it's not, to me, it doesn't seem a terribly expensive and difficult thing to do to fit transponders, but there are undoubtedly some areas where that could have been picked up and fixed. But all those, they really are sort of secondary things that people could have done to stop this happening. The primary cause of it was the driver of the truck thought he had a clearance. Well, he did have a clearance, and he motored off across the runway thinking he was safe, and he wasn't.
I agree with you entirely there, Captain Nick. But I think there are, as it's been said many times here, there a lot of the holes in the Swiss cheese or the Funyuns have really aligned for this unfortunate incident to happen. And it's very easy for us to Monday morning quarterback this and sit here and say, oh yeah, I would not have done that. But I know personally from experience, during one of my earlier CQs, I have actually attempted to enter a runway, with the red lights on, because you're so engrossed in trying to solve everything, right? You've got a problem that you're trying to solve with the passenger in the back or whatever it is, and you're about to taxi across a runway, but the red runway entrance lights are still illuminated, even though you got a clearance from ATC. So I could see that happening to anyone, right? Now, is it more of a bigger scan for me before I cross a runway? Yeah, it is. But that's experience. And, unfortunately, this crew does not have a chance to use that experience that they've gained from this. But it's something that we all take for granted because we are so overloaded, especially I'm sure those guys in the trucks were very overloaded because they had other radios going on, maybe their own TAC radios going on, telling them what to expect with that, dealing with that emergency on the other side or a situation on the other side. So it's very easy to miss those red lights, and it's an unfortunate thing that happened, and it's very easy to say, hey, the flight crew could have gone around, and I do agree they could have had a little bit more situational awareness in listening to that radio frequency and hearing, hey, a fire truck has been cleared to cross my runway. And we've all done it. We've all had practice a go around at 50 or 20 feet off the ground, so it can be done. The plane can do it, we can do it. It's just, are we triggered for a go around, or are we every day we fly, we are so triggered to a landing rather than towards a go around? And I think it's hard. It's human nature for us to try and change that,
Yeah.
Yes, I'm thinking about the view about the first question. Did I get it right that these Y lights distinguish but just before the truck entered the runway? So the truck said, "Hey, I'm clear to cross." So because the lights went off, is it correct?
Well, he's just driven over several, 100 or more feet of these lights to get to where he was entering the runway. And at that point, so he's had an opportunity to see them.
Okay.
And they did extinguish as they're supposed to just before the collision, because the aircraft was almost on top of them.
Okay.
But
I got it.
see and avoid applies not only to pilots in airplanes, but it also applies to ground vehicles. And they mentioned that they did interview the ARF employees, but they have not yet said, what their answer may have been to, did you look over and clear the runway and make sure that there isn't an airplane on it or not? The only mention was that the turret controller had, not even a second before the impact, as the ARF vehicle turned slightly to the left, he mentioned that he saw the aircraft lights. So that's a big part of I think this, clearing before you cross a runway. Yeah, go ahead, Steffen.
And also thinking about the crew itself, why they, I was looking at the flight crew itself. The captain was relatively young, or fresh announced as a captain. He was only 3 months or so, 2.5 months as a captain, together with a rather fresh FO as well. So maybe was, the combination of those two freshly assigned crew members in during these operation. That's another point where they are maybe not distracted, but maybe a little bit more tense and trying to get the flight right, and didn't listen to all the communication that was happening prior crossing their runway. So that could be a factor. Maybe as well. I was wondering why the FO had only 435 hours with Jazz, and he was a captain 3 months. Isn't there some kind of restriction with some companies that you cannot fly with a certain young first officer together when you are a young captain as well? I don't know how does that. Maybe that is also a contributing factor. I don't know. And another thing is about the ASX system and ASDB. What is it? ADSB? Now I got it. I see it already. You already pulled it up on the screen. That I wanted to give you an example from my hometown, Hamburg, Germany, where all the ground trucks which are allowed to cross the runway, they have a little ADSB transponder on it, and if you switch on to flight radar 24, you can see those vehicles driving around on the airport. We as a crew cannot see them, but I think the tower can see them. So maybe that's the system, that's what everybody's asking. So why don't they have ADSB on it? I didn't find that for Newark or Kennedy, for example.
I'm sure that's going to be a big part of their finding on this. Yeah.
I think one more thing I'd like to add is that, these fire truck drivers, they're probably very used to, as emergency responders, they're probably very used to having priority. When they are given a clearance, I think they think that they have the priority to cross because they're trying to deal with an emergency. So that might be something that is that's going through their heads versus them thinking about, oh, maybe there is an aircraft that is landing as well. So that might be something. Maybe some other someone with more experience with emergency services can respond.
Oh, iHaul Boxes is trying to inject some levity here because it's so serious. See and avoid applies to Hillel in the shower, too. Yeah, for sure. You definitely don't want to see, and you definitely want to avoid. Yeah. And 100%. Also, we've our co-host, AJ, Alpha Juliet, has joined us. Hello, sir.
Jeff, I thought we very clearly stipulated in my contract that I didn't have to be on the show with RJ anymore.
Oh,
he's leaving soon. Don't worry.
Yeah. That's kind of like behind the scenes kind of stuff. We shouldn't really be talking about it.
I'm gonna have to have my agent get back in touch with you and renegotiate. Squared away.
Okay. Yeah. I apologize.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
And RJ.
Hello. What's up, AJ? How are you?
I'm good, man. Good to see you guys.
So I don't know if you had a chance, Alpha Juliet, to review the prelim on the collision in New York, but I know that one of your recent I don't know if you've started doing the job, but I know you're getting checked out for it. But those airport ground vehicles is going to be something that you're going to be one of, right? On a part-time basis. Yeah.
Yep. Doing some escort work for people who are unlicensed
escort
and need
work.
to access the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, escorting construction workers, no less.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Sounds sexy.
I was going to say, sounds like escort work. Yeah, I like escort work.
Indeed, for construction workers. Escort work for construction workers. I see. Very specialized.
I don't discriminate.
I think I've seen those guys dressed up as construction workers at those parties, like bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the village people.
Isn't there a song about YMCA or something like that?
Oh, yeah, the village people. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So
good news is I don't have to dress as a construction worker.
Okay, let's get back on track here.
Okay.
Anyways.
Liz is cracking the whip on me. Okay, let's collect our thoughts.
I have been going through the training. I actually go for my I already have one of the certifications. I go for my aircraft movement area certification on Wednesday of next week. And there is some reasonably in-depth training. Some might argue more or less than they expect, but it's a lot of knowledge.
How about the vehicle? Is it equipped with some kind of a ADSB transponder or anything that will be tracked? We
do not have ASDX at Hartsfield.
Oh, really?
So, really,
the airport doesn't have it? Oh, well, that's new to me. I really thought that they did. Interesting.
A lot of airports do. A lot of them don't.
Okay.
To my knowledge, there's no ASDX. We certainly don't have any of the SD outs on our vehicles. We do have a radio in every vehicle.
So you have your ears and you have your eyeballs. So a lot of clearing visually and using your
scanning
your ears
and
to
a large
listen to
hollow space in between.
Yeah. Very good.
The acoustics are wonderful, though.
Yeah, like a grand concert hall. Let's see. Yes, Liz, you're giving me some.
No, I'm just saying.
Kind of
are you? Is there more discussion on this item? Or
I don't know. What do you guys think? Do we need to say anything else? It is just a preliminary report, and it is just basically a statement of facts. But and it doesn't necessarily, as we found in the past, point.
Oh yeah.
In any particular direction. No. In fact, we've been really misled, kind of in a way, or reading prelim reports and then come to find out in the final report that none of the things that we thought that they were hinting at were actually anything that were factors. So there you go.
Yeah, but I like to underline the same thing that Captain Nix was saying when you were discussing it before, that giving landing clearance without 6 miles out or 2 minutes out, it's ridiculous to do that. I'm sorry. I don't know why the Americans do that. I have no sympathy for that. Not at all.
And I think most of us have, if not all of us, agree that that probably should be changed.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right. Very good. So let's take a look at the next item in our news lineup. And this includes a video. I'll go ahead and set it up a little bit by reading from Simon Ratzke's Aviation Herald website about this. A Southwest Airlines Boeing 737-8 MAX, registration 8904 Lima, performing Flight 507 from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina to Nashville, Tennessee, was cleared to land on Nashville's runway 2 left. A Southwest Airlines Boeing 737-800, registration 441 Whiskey November, performing Flight 1152 from Nashville to Knoxville, was cleared for takeoff from Nashville's runway 2 right and was in the initial climb out when the crew of Southwest 507 decided to go around. Tower instructed Southwest 507 to climb to 2,000 feet and subsequently to turn right onto a heading of 110, then instructed the aircraft to climb to 3,000, told the other aircraft to stop their climb at 2. The crew reported they were already above 2,000 feet, hence Tower instructed Southwest 507 to maintain 2,000. 507 descended to about 1,500 feet MSL. The crew reported they reacted to a TCAS resolution advisory following the ATC instruction to maintain 2,000 feet. Southwest 1152 began to level off at about 2,200 feet, but then climbed again. Okay, so let's take a look at the video and kind of that gives us a good feel for the events here. This happened on the 18th of April, about a week ago.
Tower Southwest 507, ILS 2 left.
Southwest 507, National Tower 2 left, clear to land 133014.
Clear land 2 left, Southwest 507.
Southwest 1152, National Tower 2 right, line up away.
Running up away.
Winds are now 33019, gust 24. Southwest 1152, RNAV to show it, runway 2 right, clear takeoff.
Okay, now pausing again. On the left side, the 507, who was cleared to land, for some reason, starts initiating a self-initiated go-around. And they don't really say in anything that I read exactly why they decided to do that, but it could be a number of things, but maybe a unstabilized approach or something. But here we go. We're going to resume.
Southwest 507, maintain 2,000.
2,000, Southwest 507.
So the controller sees that 507 is going around on 2 left.
Southwest 507, turn right heading 110.
Right turn heading 110, Southwest 507.
And just a reminder, he's also cleared that 1152 for takeoff on the right runway, and he's, just barely airborne at this point?
On the 1,100 feet.
On the parallel runway, and the controller has just given 507 a turn to 110, a right turn that leads directly into the path of the Southwest that is taking off.
Those are what we call converging courses.
Yes.
Southwest 507, climb and maintain 3,000.
3,000, Southwest 507.
And Southwest 152, maintain 2,000.
2,000, we're already past the Southwest 150.
He's already in the turn, Southwest 507, descend and maintain 2,000.
Down to 2,000, Southwest 507.
A lot of silence here. Like hoping that these airplanes don't hit each other.
Nashville Tower, onboard 3436.
Controller's cleaning his pants out.
Right, altitude Southwest 1152 out of the RA.
752, climb and you can climb to descend.
Probably descend, Southwest 1152.
Southwest 507, climb maintain 4,000.
4,000, Southwest 507, and we responded to the RA.
Thanks.
Nashville Tower, onboard 3436, ILS 2 left.
Southwest 507, turn right heading 200.
200, Southwest 507.
Okay, I think that's pretty much the meat of the video, or the most important part of the video. I think that now everything is resolved. 507 is vectored for another approach and lands safely, and the one who departed on to right, they went on their way safely as well. And I'm trying to switch over back to the narrative that talks about how close these aircraft were to each other. And, 400 feet vertical separation. That's close.
Yeah.
And 0.08 nautical miles horizontal, which is like 470 feet horizontal. Yeah. Dang. That was, oh my gosh.
You could, you could see the inside of the other flight deck.
Exactly. You could probably see the color of the eyes of all the pilots. They could.
Yeah. That is very scary sitting here and just watching it. But,
it's like he must have just forgotten that. I mean, a lot of the commentary here is like, well, why did he turn? Because I think there is like some kind of an established procedure. If you go around, you get up to like 2,000 feet or 1,500, whatever, and then turn to the left away, to the west. And for some reason, the controller sent him to the right into the path of this southwest flight.
iHall Boxes has a question.
iHall Boxes says, so now which of the two crews is giving that controller a number to call? Probably all of them.
Jeff, I think RJ has to go now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. RJ, I know that you need to leave us. But
I do. I just got a call from my agent saying that it's true that I can't be in the same meeting space as AJ, so I should probably leave. Before.
Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah.
You guys have worked it out. Okay, good.
Those guys work quickly.
Yeah, they take enough of our money. They take 20% of whatever Jeff gives me.
You're only 20? I'm at 25.
You got to work a better deal here.
Anyway,
guys,
we're so happy.
Is that because of a confliction between your names?
It is.
And AJ?
Yeah, it is.
That's only part of it.
Confusion, yeah.
There are other parts of it which we're not legally
there.
allowed to talk about.
Most of it's an FCC regulation.
Yeah.
And personality conflicts as well.
It is.
You should see us in person.
That way,
We
RJ.
just fight like.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you very
See you,
much.
RJ.
See you later. Enjoy the rest of the show. All right. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Prior to the show, I was pulled up the charts of Nashville runway. What was that? 02 left, was it? Huh?
Mm-hmm.
The ILS
2
chart.
left, 2 right.
And the misapproach procedure goes clearly to the left. So I was asking you folks in America, or you flying, how often is it that you get radar vectors for a misapproach?
Every single time.
Yes.
Every single time.
Yeah.
All the go-arounds I've done in the States, I've never done the published one. It's always something completely different.
Extremely rare.
It's kind of there for like lost communications, really. I mean, it doesn't say lost comm, but that's kind of the way they treat it.
But we put it in the box and we brief it and we pay attention to it. We put the altitudes in, and I just don't understand why we don't do a standard one.
We don't know this because we didn't hear the radio communications before all of this happened, but there may have been a point where the weather was probably good enough for them to be performing a visual approach. They may have initially started on the ILS approach, and then they said, airport's in sight. You're cleared the visual approach. And once that happens, there's always an argument. Okay, well, now I'm on a visual approach. Does the missed approach on the instrument landing system procedure now still apply? Now, I think most of us will use that as general guidance, but and even at Delta, when I was flying for the company, it went back and forth over a span of several years about what we were actually supposed to or expected to do. In a situation where now you're on a visual approach, does that mean we fly the instrument missed approach procedure, or do we fly more like we're a VFR airplane? So, and I think there's probably still people arguing about it, but go ahead.
If the controller would tell you you're cleared for a visual approach, and then they say, I'm going around, and he would say, follow standard missed approach, you know what to do, don't you?
Right.
Yeah. And I'm also wondering, I had to do one time a go around in London Heathrow, by the way, because someone didn't clear the runway, not my fault. And
Air France. It's always Air France.
No, it was another German guy in some very small...
Condor.
Yeah, London.
Okay.
And he, I mean, London is for me that example for doing in a very crowded, very intense environment, doing a perfect ATC environment. Even there, they said follow standard misapproach procedure, and the airspace was clear with you. And I didn't talk to him for another 5 minutes, and then he finally said, "Okay, now pick up heading whatever." Yeah. So and also if you I know that from other airports that when you are they have different approaches names with an extension on it, like an ILS Zulu, an ILS X-ray, or whatever, when they have different misapproaches suiting the situation, which is right now the current runway in use, for example, or what kind of procedure they're doing that. So you could do pretty much in advance to avoid giving radar vectors, I think, in my opinion, but maybe I'm wrong. I'm doing it.
No, I'm with you, Steffen, because the nice thing about having a approach is you already know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So you've got the correct altitude in the the altitude box. You know what heading you're going to be on, and you're all prepped for it. So if it's a relatively low altitude, like 2,000 feet, you know very well that when you do the go around, you're going to have to throttle back pretty damn quick because you're very soon going to level off. You're going to be trying to get your flaps up before you overspeed the flaps. And when you get an unexpectedly low level off, as used to occur, for example, at JFK, they used to give you like 1,500 feet. Well, when you've just started 4 bloody Trent 500s up to full power and you're steaming up the hill in a 300-ton aeroplane, suddenly to level off, you go, well, that ain't going to happen. I'm sorry, mate.
Whoops.
I'm committed now. I'm gonna go through that at least 500 feet, no matter how I try. So, the thing about having a standard one is you're prepared, you pre-briefed, you know what's going to happen and how to deal with it. When it happens out of the blue like that, suddenly level off, it's very hard.
Well, just back to the specific thing with the Southwest, what I thought was kind of somewhat noteworthy is he had one airplane that he had told to level off at 2,000 and was at 2,000. He had another aircraft that was climbing through 2,000, climbing via the departure. And it could have been a panic thing, could have been just a stressed mind thing, but he stopped the airplane that was already climbing and climbed the other one.
Yeah.
And so that made that even closer. That could have been much different.
Yeah, good point. In fact, when he said maintain 2019, and that airplane was already at 2,200. So
exactly. So he actually had them go back the other way.
Yeah,
I think he was probably kind of shocked that he gave that instruction to the guy on the go and was trying to manage it and almost panicked a little bit. You could even hear it in his voice. One of the things I was going to mention is the two pilots of the two different flights on the radio sounded very cool, calm, collected, almost matter of fact, even though
absolutely
they almost actually hit each other. I was impressed by that. Like, it was very, very controlled, very calm. You didn't hear anything different in their voices that I want to
know what they said in the bar later.
Well, they probably said a lot.
iHall Boxes has another comment.
Probably.
iHall Boxes in our live audience says, my instructor insists on briefing every standard missed approach. Both he and I know we're never going to actually fly it, but he's just happy somebody is listening to him. That's one way to get people to listen to you, right? That's the best thing about being a captain. At least they pretend like they're listening to you.
Yeah.
They may not actually.
But none of the two crews said that they're going to perform a TCAS A, don't they? Is that
no, I didn't hear it from either crew. No. You're right, Steffen.
I think they were
One
probably.
of them said he responded.
Yeah,
to
they did
the
after the fact. But Captain Steffen is right. I mean, we were supposed to announce, we're TCAS RA or so, just to let them know that they're not going to be following the tower controller's instructions. Yeah. Wow. So it's a good thing we don't have any other, near collisions in our news today, right? What? Oh, wait. Do we? Oh, wait. Okay. Let me.
And it involves their Jazz again.
Oh no, not Jazz again.
But they weren't at fault, I don't think.
Okay. Well, let's take a listen, shall we? Let's listen to some local news coverage of this at up the road at New York John F. Kennedy.
Well, tonight there is an investigation into a close call at Kennedy Airport. 2 passenger planes on a collision course. Alarms blaring in the tower and the cockpits. Eyewitness News reporter Anthony Carlo with what happened next.
Oh yeah, just picture being a passenger on any of these flights with no clue as to how close to potential disaster they really were. 4 planes in less than 48 hours, barreling toward a collision. The 2 Southwest jets in Nashville narrowly missed each other by 500 feet. An American Airlines jet veered directly into the path of an Air Canada flight at JFK, separated by just 350 feet. That's about the size of a football field. It's anxiety-inducing to look at. The Air Canada jet on the right cleared to land and hitting final approach. The American Airlines jet on the left straying off course, headed directly into the other plane's flight path before air traffic control issues a warning to both pilots with alarms blaring. The Air Canada flight's call sign Jazz 554.
Jazz 554, climb maintain 3000.
I maintain 3000, Jazz 554.
The traffic off your left is overshooting the parallel.
TCAS, all right.
Yeah, that guy overshot the final, Jazz 554. Do you still want to, you know what, just fly runway heading maintain 3000.
A second controller contacts the American Airlines flight, call sign Brickyard.
Hey, Brickyard, you have traffic off your right side immediately. It's safe at 2,000 feet, sir. It's all above you now.
We're correcting. Brickyard 4464.
Hi, Brickyard 4464, Roger. I understand you're correct. And you have the field in sight, sir?
We are going around Brickyard 4464.
The near tragedy happened around 2:30 Monday afternoon, 1 month after LaGuardia's deadly runway collision between an Air Canada jet and a fire truck, and less than 48 hours after 2 Southwest planes in Nashville also narrowly missed each other. The DOT today updating its overhaul of the system, modernizing air traffic control. Part of it installing voice switches to replace radios that were built in the 70s. It can't happen fast enough.
The tools that are being developed will be incredibly helpful to air traffic controllers. And again, this is why we think the airspace will not just be more efficient, but it will be a lot safer.
Fortunately, both jets did land safely at JFK with the help of air traffic control. The FAA now trying to get to the bottom of why the American Airlines flight deviated from its course.
Might call it a Freudian slip.
I think you should have said
Anthony Carlo, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
Let's take a look.
Fortunately, both jets did land safely at JFK with the help of air traffic control.
Yeah, it did almost sound like he said, unfortunately.
Well, Freudian slip there, huh?
Yeah. Would have been made better news.
At least that wasn't over dramatized or really blown up for news drama. But
exactly.
Barreling. How do you
yeah, well,
and alarms blaring.
Alarms blaring.
Oh, there's a title: Barreling and Blaring.
Barreling and blaring, huh? Possible show title. Okay. Here we have another. Now, in this case, we had talked about. Captain Steffen had mentioned, aren't we required to state that we are following an RA? And in this case, the Brickyard, by the way, Brickyard is the call sign for Republic Airlines, who's operating the flight for American Airlines. And the reason why their call sign is Brickyard is because this company is based in Indianapolis, Indiana. And the Brickyard, as many of us here in the U.S. know, is the location for the Indianapolis 500, and the speedway is called, nicknamed Brickyard.
Oh, okay. The actual bricks
the finish line is actually bricks.
Yeah,
bricks. Yep.
Well, they have to go through the bricks or over the bricks?
Over the bricks.
Over the bricks, because they're level with the raceway surface.
Oh, okay. It's not, they haven't built a wall for them to crash into at the finish.
No.
Okay.
That's totally different. Yeah, it's demolition derby, not the Indianapolis 500. Although sometimes the Indianapolis 500 does look like the demolition derby.
True.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Anyway, so so it looks like the Brickyard flight, the Republic airplanes. Liz is asking how close they got, or do we know how close?
I don't know if we know.
They got together. I'm not sure.
It says here the separation between the aircraft reduced to 0 feet. Am I on the right one? Yeah, to reduce to 0 feet vertical and about 1 mile horizontal, and 200 feet vertical at 0.07 nautical mile horizontal. So
there you go.
Yeah.
So when they were at the same altitude, they were about a mile apart. Okay. Which you think, well, that seems like a lot, but in an airplane.
Very close.
It's very close.
But it's not as close as the Southwest flights were.
No. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to stay on the theme of near collisions of aircraft. The first two involve near collisions in flight. This one involves one in flight and one on the ground. And we have a video that and some audio accompanying it to listen to. So let's do that, shall we?
Skylab 25, level ground, taxi 17 left, intersection Echo via Echo.
Runway 17 left, at Echo via Echo, Skylab 25.
Tower UPS 1303, heavy with you, visual 17 left.
UPS 1303, heavy with Tower 17 left, wind 190 at 9, clear to land, reduce final approach speed, Pilatus will be departing prior to arrival.
Reducing the final approach speed, clear to land 17 left, 1303 heavy.
The Pilatus he's speaking of is that Skylab 25, I believe.
Skylab 25, little Tower, will you be ready?
Skylab, wasn't that the name of a satellite?
Isn't that the one we dropped in Australia?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I don't know why Skylab is the call sign. They really don't say in the Aviation Herald article exactly what company that is or whatever. It just says a Pilatus PC-12 and the call sign Skylab.
I think that has some negative connotations in the aerospace world.
Yeah, I think so too. And I can see some negative connotations from this particular incident. Let's continue.
Yeah, this didn't help.
Yeah, so he was told to hold short, right? I think. Okay, here we go. Actually, I think they tried to tell him something and he didn't respond for some reason. So let's continue.
Skylab 25, little Tower.
Hello? Hello?
UPS 1303, heavy, disregard the Pilatus. He's not with us yet.
Blocked.
UPS 1303, heavy, disregard the traffic departing.
1303, copy.
Skylab 25, contact tower.
Skylab 25, little Tower.
Heavy, clear to land 17 left.
Ready, sorry for that.
UPS 1345, heavy, you are cleared to land 17 left. The Pilatus is with me now and he'll depart prior to your arrival.
Copy, UPS 1345, heavy, clear to land 17 left.
Skylab 25, little Tower, if you're ready, we'll get you out. We got traffic 1 mile final, then we'll get you going. Hold short 17 left at Echo for now.
You want me to hold short for final who run one, so say again for Skylab 25, sorry for this.
Skylab 25, hold short 17 left at Echo.
Hold short for 17 left at Echo, Skylab 25. Pay attention.
Oh boy.
Skylab 25, stop!
He then starts proceeding from the whole point Echo. What's happening?
Skylab 25, what are you doing?
Skylab 25, yeah. Sorry for that.
Yeah.
Skylab 25, cross 17 right immediately and join Delta 6, contact ground point 7 for resequence.
Cross runway 17 left, and over to tower, Skylab, over to ground, Skylab 25.
Yes, 1303 heavy, sorry about that. Climb and maintain 3000 on flight present heading.
3000 present heading, 1303, copy. Ground Skylab 25 is, I just crossed 17 left, I am at Delta, north of site.
Skylab 25, you can make the right turn on Delta, hold short of 17 left, and I got a number for you to copy, possible pilot deviation.
Roger, I'm ready to copy.
Skylab 25, it's area code 502-375.
5309.
And it'll be option 1 when the computer answers.
Your call is important to us.
Am I supposed to call now or after I landed my destination?
Skylab 25, stand by. I believe you can wait until you get to your destination. Skylab 25, you can call when you reach destination. And again, hold short 17 left at Delta, and you can monitor tower.
I will hold short of 17 left at Delta. I'll switch to tower, Skylab 25.
And enjoy your last flight ever.
Yeah.
At least for that company.
Yeah. So speaking of the company, our staff, thank you, Liz, sent me information about Skylab the aviation call sign for LabCorp, Laboratory Corporation of America Holdings, used by its private fleet of aircraft, which typically operates nightly to transport medical specimens. They utilize an ICAO code of SK Quebec and operate Pilatus PC-12 and PC-24 aircraft. And I will just make the assumption that it's probably a single pilot operation. Yeah?
Yes, I believe it is.
Okay. So, I don't know. Inexperience, confusion. I don't know what was going on with the Pilatus pilot.
Yeah.
Fatigue, maybe. Yeah.
He'd been flying all night. Maybe.
Yeah, but luckily heads up by the local controller and the UPS flight prepared to do the go-around. That's why we say over and over and over again on the show that you always or should try to have that mindset that you're expecting that you're going to have to go around. You've briefed it. You are ready to go when necessary. And because you never know when something like this is going to happen and some idiot is going to disregard the holding short instructions and potentially enter on the runway in front of you. I'm thinking the PC-12 Skylab guy, I mean, did you look out your right window to check to make sure that there isn't an airplane landing? Or maybe you didn't hear the conversation between UPS and Tower regarding landing? I
don't think so because he hadn't switched frequencies. They were looking for him.
Yeah, but I mean, at some point when he did get back on the frequency, he should have understood that there was a big giant airplane coming toward that runway that he was about to.
Somewhat hard to miss. That airplane.
I mean, it's like, what? How does something like that happen? I wonder.
Well, I mean, Jeff, what do we do every time we fly together?
Very little patience for stupidity.
I'm sorry.
You pull up to the runway, you look, and you go, "Final's clear." Then you pull onto the runway.
Exactly. And you actually look. You don't just say it. All right. What do the gentlemen from England and Germany have to say about this?
It could only happen in America. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you very much for that.
No.
Yeah, because we never ever have any kind of incidents over there in Europe.
No, we never do.
Like this.
Well, that's why we don't let people record our air traffic.
Smart.
Smart. Yes, we are. So, yeah, people make mistakes, and anyone who thinks that pilots don't make mistakes is sadly mistaken. The interesting thing is there are some mistakes you can get away with, and other mistakes are going to kill you. And just a simple one of misinterpreting or misunderstanding or messing up a taxi instruction can indeed kill you. So, you've just got to be on the ball 100% of the time. There's no doubt about it.
He's all choked up.
He is.
Captain Steffen?
I got a peanut in my throat.
I feel a little bit sorry about this guy. Sorry about that, to say, for his defense. First, did I hear, I mean, you can hear it with my voice, but did he also has a little accent?
I thought,
in his
yes.
That's where the pity comes from. He's got a German accent. So I knew he was going to be on his side.
Oh, for me, it sounded more like some East Europe accent and some Polish guy. Well, but maybe I was wrong. Maybe
it was definitely an accent.
Part of the world we can guess on.
And I think he was Hawaiian.
Yeah. But maybe from New York?
Well, there's a lot of different accents in New York, sure.
No, but I feel a bit sorry about that because, I mean, he was some kind of stress. He said, I'm sorry about the crossing. I mean, he know that he did some big mistake. The next thing you hear is, are you ready to copy some number? I mean, this guy was even a little bit, the controller was not calming him down or whatever. But the next thing is here, can you write down a number, possible pilot deviation? You could think about, well, why do I go fly? I mean, I should probably go back and get my nerves down prior to that, and then suddenly I get another knock writing down a number, possible, get a punishment or whatever. I think it's not a good thing to do. But I know it's very common in America to do that. You have time to write down a number, but is it the good way to do for the safety?
The best.
Okay.
No, I agree with you, Steffen. When the guy's rattled, it's probably not ideal to lay it on again with that. Although you've got to tell him at some point, if he's made a pilot deviation, he's required to follow a procedure, and this is the procedure. What was the call that the air trafficker made just prior to giving him that final hold short clearance? Is there any chance we can... It's just that it sounded very non-standard, and with the guy's accent, I just wonder what the controller had in his mind when he gave that blurb about we'll try and get you off as soon as we can, etc., etc. And I'm going, well, that is a very non-standard clearance at that point. Having said that, the final clearance or the final instruction he gave him was definitely clear. There's no doubting that he told him to hold short. But the bit before that did not stand like a standard clearance of anything.
So what may, just my thought of what was happening there, I don't know if Louisville is an up-down facility, so he may have had to get a release for that Skylab's flight plan. And so once the guy was finally there and ready, he's going to call a TRACON and say, hey, Skylab 25, ready at 17 left. And then the TRACON's going to say, released, whatever, runway heading, released, turn him this heading. The tower controller has to have that release for his flight plan before he can take him up, give him clearance for takeoff. Mm-hmm. On the screen, and this may or may not be accurate, the UPS looked like it was about 3 miles, maybe 3.5 miles out from the runway on final. So sounds like he was hoping to get that release quickly and get the Pilatus out of there. Because those Pilatuses, when you give them a clearance for takeoff, they're out and gone pretty quickly. Yeah. Not a they don't lollygag around on the runway. So
that's a good point. Yeah, there was some confusion there because like the plans kept changing, mainly because of the fact that the communication situation.
Yeah, it's just that I can imagine the Pilatus pilot had in his brain, I've got to be keyed up, ready to go, because I'm going to have 1 mile to get myself sorted out, get on the runway and get going. So, and then it changed, and I wonder if he just hadn't processed the fact that he'd now been told to sit still properly.
Right.
But there's one other little pet peeve in this that it's a little thing, but it's a constant little thing, and that's extra words. This airplane's already stopped on taxiway Echo at runway 17 left. The guy told him, hold short of 17 left at taxiway Echo. The last half of that sentence does not need to exist. Hold short 17 left. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Again, little thing, pet peeve.
Yeah, because that extra little bit could be a source of confusion. You're right. Yeah. Okay. Well, that wraps up our news segment, and now we're going to head to the segment that we like to call Getting to Know Us. Yeah, it's the part of the show where we get to know what has been going on, happening with the hosts that are currently on the show, and yeah, it's one of my favorite segments. So we're going to start with Steffen, Captain Steffen over there. How are you, sir? I'm so happy you were able to join us. I know you're a world traveler. I'm sure you're going to be able to get us up to date with all that kind of thing.
Last time I was on your show, I think it was 2 months ago or 3 months ago even, you asked me, hey, did anything, whatever, and I said, oh no, I was fine, and you were very astonished that, what, you have nothing to tell? So I forgot to tell you that I was flying electrically last time when I was on the show. I flew with a electric Pipistrel airplane. So yes, I was going green. You're right.
Oh, shoot. You need to warn me about that so I can play this. We're going green. Matt, we haven't played this in a while. Thank you.
Yeah.
Gonna take care of the earth. Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's a small flight school. It's a little bit north of my hometown, Hamburg, in Neumünster. And they have a Pipistrel, a little bit sponsored. They also have a big solar panel on the hangar. So they're putting in the electrical power in the airplane. I don't know if you ever know a pipistrelle. How does it look like? It's a small, very light-built aircraft. It has a normal echo registration. In Germany, it means the same registration as a Cessna type thing, and so it's not a light or sport aircraft or whatever. And it has. I was reading up the specs here. It has 57 kilowatt little engine, and it can fly really maximum. Really, if you squeeze everything out, it can fly 1 hour and 20 minutes. So it's good for very short hop and back, so 20 minutes flight and back, and if you want to go back and to have some reserve or doing some training pattern. And the unusual thing is, which was very interesting, is that the pre-flight is you switch on the thing, you see how the cooling of the battery works, and it has a liquid cooled battery. You hear the pumps and you hear the water. How does that gurgle? I don't know what's the name for that in English. Gurgle. And the liquid's flowing, and then you're standing on the runway. You do one time a full power run up, and we had to taxi on the runway and wait for other guy to clear. And you're sitting on the runway, and there's no propeller turning, nothing. You just sit there and wait. And it's a fun thing to experience. And then suddenly you pull in power, and then the thing starts turning the propeller, and off you go. And very interesting, very experience. That's from my flying experience. And
question for you about that.
Yeah.
Have they written out the rules well as far as reserve, quote unquote, fuel reserves? Have they changed that at all? Is it still 30 minutes and 45 for type of flying you're doing, or how have they written that out?
The rules, you mean from the government side? I think the rules are the same. You have to have a 50 minutes reserve.
50.
15
minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes reserved for this kind of VFR operation you do. So it's not very much. And the flight school itself, they basically say you can fly 55 minutes. That's what you can do with it. And that's not even enough to fly to the next burger place and back. So you barely can do that, only if the winds are good. Huh?
Is that equivalent to an internal combustion engine airplane, or does an internal combustion engine airplane require more reserve?
I think they you got me. Please don't ask me about rules. Please don't do that.
I don't mean to do the technical question.
Too late.
I'm curious about that, because in the U.S., I don't know that I've seen any talk about that specific aspect of it. There's a handful of electrics that are starting to gain some popularity and stuff, but I've been curious about that. I do know that pipistrelle, the names don't translate into American culture as well, with the virus and the sinus.
Yeah. Okay. So, but if you call that the flight school says you can fly 50 minutes, and it has 1 hour and 20 minutes total endurance, so you do have the half hour. So maybe that's it. Huh?
Did it have a straightforward prop, Steffen, or has it got a variable pitch prop?
I think it has a straightforward prop.
Okay.
And it's not, you can get the same airplane you can get with a Rotax engine in it, and it flies faster and of course much longer. And with the small engine, which has only 70 horsepower or something, you cannot really go fast. And you can go climb up. You have good performance to climb up and get off the runway, but it's not fast. It's only a climb propeller. What would you call that? Huh? For getting around. It's for training. It's good doing training pattern, but since the propeller is it's not recuperating. Is that the word you use also in English? If you're getting back power,
recuperating or regenerating.
Yeah. It does not do that. I know that some versions of the airplane can do that. It depends a little bit on the regulation. They are ratcheted in it, because if you're recuperating, you put back power in the battery and in flight, so that needs a special authorization to do that, or certification, which this aircraft doesn't have. So if you
does that constitute in-flight refueling?
Yeah, kind of that. Yeah. That's why it's not. That's what they say, but it's not. It's I hold boxes says 30 minutes reserve. Yeah, I'm sorry, my bad with my rules about that, but I think it has 30 minutes. Yeah, the usual one. And
what about putting solar panels on the top of the wing?
Yeah, well,
I wonder if that's something that could be.
Yeah, it's you can dim the panel with it, or you can light up some instruments with that, but you cannot power the aircraft with that. Yeah, yeah. The thing will not go down because if you pull out the back the propeller, it has basically no resistance. It's just turning, and you glide. It has a very good glide distance, for example.
Okay,
so that's
interesting.
I was going to ask you if you throttle all the way back, does the propeller stop in flight?
No. Okay. I think you can. It's very easily turning, but it has no. It has no cylinders which it's turning, so it has not a big resistance in the air. Yeah.
I bet that actually is something that makes it a little bit more complicated to fly because it doesn't slow down nearly as well.
No. He came in a bit high. I was sitting next to the pilot. He came a bit high. He had a little trouble getting it down. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they are slick airplanes for sure.
Yeah.
How about travels, sir?
Travels. I intended to, by mid-February, me and my wife, we wanted to go to Dubai and fly over further to Asia, doing some standby travel, like those guys like I do with those cheap airline tickets. And then something happened by the end of February in Dubai, so we had to change plans.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and we ended up in Costa Rica. And that was very nice. And I'm recalling the words of the car rental guy recommending us using Waze. Do you know Waze?
Yes,
for navigation?
Yes, Waze, W-A-Z-E.
Yeah, okay. And he said, use Waze. It said, what about Google or Apple? He said, no, you use Waze. Okay. So we start driving around. We were at our first stop, and then we wanted to go to the second stop, and we looked at Waze, and it says, "Oh, you have to go all the way back where you came from, and it takes about 5.5 hours." And then I looked at Apple, and they said, or Google, and they said, "No, you can go you continue your route, and it's only 2 hours drive to the next place."
Wait, so Waze tried to deport you? It said go back where you came from?
Yeah. But the reason for that is, the reason for that, and then I stopped talking about it. The reason for that is we had to cross rivers, and Waze was avoiding crossing us rivers, and that was the interesting part. And we were standing at the river, and luckily
you have to set the amphibious mode on Waze.
Yeah.
You check that box.
Yeah. Next time, I know that. So, luckily, in front of us, there was one guy, and he was walking through the water so we could see how deep it is. And my wife he said, "No, we're not going there." But I decided, I cannot discuss that with you right now. So I hit the accelerator and went through the water.
Oh, man.
We'll talk about that in a second.
It may be a good discussion. It might be a bad discussion.
Depends on how this goes.
Yeah.
And that was Costa Rica is a very nice place to go. A very I can recommend it. It's not a cheap place to go, but it's a very nice place to go.
Excellent.
By the way, we traveled back through Mexico City because there the flights were all open. Costa Rica has only one single runway. It's a little bit higher. It has sometimes unfavorable tailwinds, so it happens more often that you have to offload people when you fly back to Europe. And we don't want to be that one of those being offloaded. So we went to Mexico City, and the flights were very open. We had 3 more days at Mexico City. It was very nice.
Nice.
Right.
Fabulous.
Good job.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
So nice that you were able to join us.
Absolutely.
We need to make it more frequent than once every 3 months. Come on.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. And next time I will use Waze also for flying. It's much better.
I thought that, didn't Google buy Waze? I thought they were like somehow integrated with each other. Apparently not. I don't know.
Okay, next.
Yeah, who would like to go next? AJ.
I'll go real quick. I got one thing I forgot to share from, or didn't really get much of a chance to share since we were so rapidly ushered out of our recording location at Sun and Fun.
Yeah.
But Nick, we saw your new favorite airplane.
There we go. Look at that.
Right. And
remember that was
correct. The stall performance is fantastic.
Let's watch it. Wow, that was a long roll. Nice.
Well, he's only got to 2 feet.
Hey,
Well,
you know what? It's off the runway.
climbing.
It's airborne.
It is technically a
barely.
takeoff.
Yeah, very good.
It actually does
Right.
climb at a pretty significant angle once it gets a little speed into the wings. But
Right, cool.
but yeah,
Just
I thought that
before,
was
hold on, just before you carry
What a
on,
coincidence.
Ken Hayes has a comment.
Yeah, I see. Ken Hayes in our live audience says Google owns Waze but has them operating independently. Okay, so there you go. Thank you, for the clarification.
for better or for worse.
Yeah.
If I want to take the express lane, the toll lane, I have to use Waze because Google doesn't recognize it.
Really?
Yep.
That's weird.
Even though Google tells me about traffic incidents and obstacles on the road and things like that, and it says provided from Waze.
Yeah. Maybe that's why I had that idea, because it seems like they're like sharing data with each other. But
Somehow, yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, other than that, got to do a little fun flying. Had to do a quick maintenance flight this week to check on some radio issues that turned out to not be an issue. Well, yeah, just working.
We had a great flight back on the next day after we recorded on Saturday, and
We did. Did you put any pictures in?
I did not. So yeah, kind of going on with the theme of sun and fun, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of sun and a lot of fun. Probably too much
And
fun.
a lot of beer.
And a lot of beer. Yeah, that was
We're
part of the
going to
fun
have
part.
to come up with a new joke because
Yeah,
I've said
I know.
that
Did
every
you?
time somebody asks me how was sun and fun.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're not that clever, but we try. So yeah, as I said, or as AJ just mentioned, that on the way down, I was sitting in the back seat, and then on the way back to Atlanta area, he said, "You want to fly?" And I went, "Yeah, I'd love to." So it'd been 2.5 years since I'd actually been at the controls of any kind of an airplane, and that was a lot of fun to actually fly an airplane. And yeah,
You
and
took
it's
it
been
from what 200 feet off the ground, 300 feet off the ground at Lakeland, and I went like this.
Yeah.
And he did awesome.
And it was just
Only flew a little bit like a 717 pilot.
Yeah. Well, hey, I thought I did pretty well. I think I held
you
altitude
did
pretty
great.
good. Anyway, so that's that. And yeah, so it's just been, I was able to sing in some masses on Sunday, and it's been a quiet week, and I was able to do the editing and get the 704 published on Monday. So that worked out well. I thought it was going to take me like days to figure out how to do all the editing because of all the unexpected challenges. Yeah, the audio. If you're listening on Spotify, particularly one person, yeah, I explained why the audio was bad. It's just, we were doing the best we could with our environment there. But I thought it added a lot of ambiance, don't you?
Me too. I thought it was great.
Yeah. All right. And that's it for me.
Hey, Captain Jeff and crew. This is Brian and Micah from Airplane Geeks and the Journey is the Reward podcasts.
And you know how we always think of all our podcasts as a family and how much we love each other and get along and love to visit? Well, we're going to have a meetup. The Journey is Reward and the Airplane Geeks together are going to have a meetup. And we wanted to invite the APG community because we love you guys too.
Since we're all one big happy family, why not?
Exactly. So on Sunday, May 17th at 4 p.m., we're having a meetup on the east coast of New Jersey, of all places. Why? Because Brian's wonderful mother is having her 91st birthday.
Yeah, and there's a really good chance that Max Flight from Airplane Geeks will be there. Micah, of course, you will be there. I will be there. And hopefully a whole bunch of Airline Pilot Guide people will be at Charlie's Pizza Restaurant and Pub.
There's even a chance, if his health recovery is going really well, David Vanderhoof might make an appearance, and boy, would we love to see him.
Absolutely. So come on out and join us at the meetup.
Hope to see you there. Sunday, May 17th, 4 o'clock at Charlie's Pizza Restaurant and Pub, 1980 Route 37 West in Manchester Township, New Jersey. Bear in mind, it's a strip mall. So you have to pull into the strip mall first to find the place. But Brian says it's good, and I trust Brian.
And at least it's not a strip club. Wait, we might get more people to show up if it is.
That sounds interesting.
Wow. Captain Nick.
Well, the usual for me. Petanque is happening more often. We're on the new terrain, and it's playing very well, and we're having good fun. A lot of big competitions being held there, so that's going brilliantly. In fact, thoroughly enjoying that. And the weather is just fantastic at the moment. We're getting lovely sunny days, still a little bit chilly in the mornings, but there you go. That's life in the UK. I'm sure it'll change again pretty soon. Right, the artwork for the last show. We had some good suggestion, like the heads down display. I thought that was very good. And Mr. and Mrs. Juicy Crab, which I managed to squeeze in to this one, but the live show audience, really, the picture that AJ took of their scintillating audience there that they had at the live show was the one that really was very easy. Now, we did manage to put a sticker from the Mr. and Mrs. Juicy Crab. It was called the Juicy Crab or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was the Juicy Crab.
That was on the podium. We've got the two audience members that did pitch up. They didn't last very long, though.
It was a huge audience.
A shame. Yeah, it was huge.
They were enthralled.
Riveted.
Indeed. We can tell they were enthralled.
They were listening via osmosis.
Yeah, something like that. So there's the logo. That poor chap asleep there. I'm not quite sure what's happened to his leg, but I assume he's got it folded underneath, and one of his shoes has fallen off.
Okay.
And
he has the right number of fingers. That's all that really matters.
Yes, he does.
There's a close-up of
There's Mr. and
Mrs.
Mrs. Crab. And there's an advertising board for Airline Pilot Guide Podcast Live show featuring Armando. Carry on. There you go. There's Mr. Beast's favourite pilot.
Nice.
And if you look to the left, you'll find the show number.
Underneath the vents, the air conditioning vents.
Yeah, underneath the vents, seating for
704 persons.
That would be a very full
APG
702 empty seats.
Yeah, well, that's what I was expecting to see. At least 700 people in there. We could have done without the extra 4. But
like I said, we had 250,000 people in attendance. They just weren't
all there
immediately adjacent.
Yes, and they weren't fully aware that we were recording the show.
Was for the inside.
Finally, we need to find the penguin. And there he is. He's saying hello to the nice lady at the table there at the desk. Who's I assuming he's a reporter or something. No, he's not a penguin.
No, but
he's just a
no.
man
She's
sleeping.
saying that she just loves this guy with his mouth open as he's sleeping.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. But there's our penguin.
Well done,
our
Nick.
jackass is at the back chatting up the journalists.
We got him.
Mm-hmm.
In the media centre. So there you go. That was artwork.
Well done,
for last
Nicholas.
week.
Okay.
Love it. That was funny.
It was. I enjoyed it, actually. It was good. It was an easy one. Thanks.
Okay. Great. So that ends the Getting to Know Us segment, and we're now going to... Wow, it's a treat. We have a plane tale, and so we're going to go ahead and play that. Oh, you're going to play it,
Captain Nick. Is,
yeah, I'm going to play it because it's too big for me to pass down to you.
Mm-hmm.
So do you want me to just go ahead?
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you want to set it up or whatever, you want to do, man.
The lovely Joseph Gorton, who we know from having had feedback from him from shows previous, finally got together with me, and he told me a bit of how I got there story of how he became an airline pilot. And I tell you what, this bloke has done more wacky jobs than you can shake a stick at while he tried to earn enough to pay for all his flight training until he got the job of his dreams. So it's a great story, lovely interview. Thank you very much indeed, Joseph. the old pilot's plain tales. The Joseph Gorton interview. Hi there, Jeff. Captain Nick here, and I'm sitting here in the Garden View studio with Joseph Gorton, who you might remember from shows past, but he's found the time to come and pop in on his way home after completing a tortuous 3 days in the simulator. So lovely to see you, Joseph, and thanks very much for making the time to come over. We're going to go to the pub shortly, but in the meantime, a couple of minutes chatting to Joseph, and we'll find out a bit about him. Remind me of your journey into the airlines, Joseph.
Goodness. It starts a long way back. So I'm a British national. I've kind of been educated and mainly raised in the UK, but yeah, back at school I did well in my GCSEs, which was a basic prerequisite qualifications to becoming an airline pilot, but at the time in question they generally tended to demand a bit more in terms of A-levels and preferably university. But at the age of 21 I decided that I was sick and tired of getting a bunch of not particularly great jobs, and I rekindled my love affair with becoming an airline pilot, which is something I wanted to do since I was a young boy, but it was a matter of starting from the very bottom to rebuild everything and get back on top of the game again. So yeah, so I was milking cows at the time, so I left the countryside, went back to the city, went to college to go and basically set my education straight again. So chose an access to higher education in engineering, so there's a lot of maths and a lot of physics, which is what the flight training schools were mainly pushing for at the time. Graduated from that, did really well. And then after that, whilst I was going through college, I was working as a doorman, so doing nightclub security.
Wow.
Yeah, so one of my more interesting career-based choices. But anyway, I left doing that, and then I went to work with children with behavioural difficulties. But the game plan was at the time was the 3 prerequisites to becoming an airline pilot that the schools really wanted was the medical capacity to do the job, the cognitive capacity, and the financial capacity to do it. And the last one was definitely the most hardest hurdle to overcome. So the game plan was to go and work in the oil and gas industry, hopefully go and get a job offshore, and I'll do 2 weeks offshore because it was probably one of the best paid jobs out. Then I paid for my offshore survival course, went and did that, thought I'd try really, really hard to go and push for a job, didn't work out. So then I went and got my roped access course to go and potentially paint the oil rigs because it was a specialisation. That also didn't work out. Then I went and paid for my truck driving licenses, which that did work out. I did get a job driving trucks after working with children. And then from that, I paid for my radiography tickets because one of my friends said that if you go and get your radiography certificates, that industrial radiography.
Okay.
Then
not in hospital.
No.
Okay.
Then he said that he would be able to get me a job in the oil and gas sector because he was in a semi-managerial position. And so I went and got all them. Got good grades in it, and then literally 1 month later, the oil and gas crisis happened in 2014. Looking down the road, about to throw in the towel with my aspirations of getting into oil and gas and just stick with truck driving because there was specializations I could go down, mainly through the dangerous goods route, and that would potentially generate enough revenue in a shortish period of time, and then I could go off and do the licensing. So anyway, I went away and got my dangerous goods certificates to drive petrol tankers. And then I got my radioactive transport as a bolt-on course.
Which was always at the dangerous end of society.
Yeah, something like that. But you were a fighter pilot back in the day, so...
True.
Yeah. But anyway, so I got that, and that actually made all the difference because I was able to apply for a job transporting radioactive isotopes around the oil and gas fields out in Belgium and Holland. And then I got into the industry that way perfectly, but they wanted somebody with truck driving licenses and radiography certificates. So luckily, I was one of the very, very, very few people in the country that actually had a mix of the qualifications. So I got that job, and then I was able to save up enough money to go and apply to one of the flying schools. And so I went down there initially to just put in what we call a whitetail application over here, which is basically unspecified to any airlines. Sat the entrance exams, and then little known to me, but I actually got selected from a pool of candidates to go and work for a specific airline. And after a short deliberation, I decided I was going to follow that pathway. Got into the school in 2018. And then in 2020, just after I passed my commercial pilot license check, coronavirus happened, and then I lost that job.
Oh, if only you'd been able to look in your crystal ball and work out what the hell was going to happen.
Pushing a van uphill all the time.
Yeah. Well, it sounds torturous, but what happened next?
What happened next? So I came back to the United Kingdom to sit my instrument rating, but at the time I was dating an American girl. So I went down to Mexico, quarantined there for a couple of weeks, and then got into the States. And then when we got there, we decided that we didn't want to live apart anymore. So at that point, we got married a few months later and decided to start a life together. So then I stopped in the USA, went through the immigration process, got the green card, came up with a game plan to get a license application for flying commercially in the United States. Got my truck driving licenses in the States because it was something that I was already experienced in the UK. So it's something that I could turn my attention towards relatively quickly if needs be. So anyway, got the green card, came back to Europe to go and get my instrument rating renewal done, and then went back out to the States. And then we moved down to Atlanta. And shortly after that, because it's quite a bit more expensive than it was up in Missouri, the money situation dwindled. And so at that point, there wasn't enough to complete the license application. So then I went back to work driving trucks in the USA.
Oh, good Lord.
For 8 months. But Europe at that time had started recruiting for airline pilots again. So me and my wife at the time had the difficult conversation as to whether we were going to stay in the States or come back to Europe for a couple of years, build up some time and some experience with a view to moving back to the USA at a later point. So basically the crux point was we can come back to the UK, spend £30,000, which is about $40,000 to get the type rating, but it would be relatively high paid work as opposed to doing flight instructing in the States, spending less money, but it would take longer to get the hours together. So we made the decision to commit to coming back to the UK, and I got a job with, do you guys still use APG as the prefix to your ABS Airlines? Yeah. So I got a job with APG Orange.
APG Orange. Excellent.
A European operator that operates exclusively Airbus aircraft.
I'm sure there'll be a few people out there who'll know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you're working for them still?
Yes. I'm loving it as well.
Oh, that is fantastic. So, good company. And the airplane you're on, you're obviously an Airbus, but any particular type?
The narrow body variant.
Narrow body
isn't the A220.
Okay, I think we can go there. Yeah, that's no problem at all. And what are the destinations like?
The destination. So we cover pretty much all of Europe and North Africa. So we've got, and the Canaries as well. So yeah, the destinations are good. They're challenging as well because we operate in some pretty short fields as well as more challenging runways like up in Tromsø, Norway. You may be familiar with from that.
I'm not I haven't flown into there. I know of it.
Yeah. Short runway, lots of ice.
Yeah. Very interesting. And a great kind of job to cut your teeth on gaining experience because there's nothing quite like going to all these difficult places to learn how the hell to do it.
Yes, definitely.
Super. A command on the horizon?
Potentially, yes.
Good man.
We're expecting the pitter-patter of little feet and stuff this summertime, so that'll dictate, broadly speaking, whether I'm going to pull the trigger perhaps in the back end of this year maybe, or if not, then potentially next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very excited for you because it sounds like the beginning of a wonderful career. But you've just done 3 days. We talked about this earlier. In the sim, what was that like? Jeff and I both have enormous sympathy.
Yeah.
We both hate the simulator. What was it like for you?
It is... I don't want to portray it as being completely negative, because there's a couple of things that you can take away from it. Number one, I think you certainly don't feel physically refreshed, but I think it's definitely good to brush up on the skills, just because they end up getting so ossified and stale over time, don't they? You never, and hopefully will never have to practice an engine failure in real life. The low visibility operations, I've seen it very, very few times, actually, operationally speaking. So it's good to understand what you need to do at certain points in order to obviously get out of a tricky situation if you've had some sort of avionics downgrade. But it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hard work. That's one thing for sure. So yeah, pretty jaded, but it feels good. I think if you go through these difficult experiences in life, there's nothing quite like the satisfaction getting to the side of it. And then once you're there, you clear for another 6 months until it all starts again.
That's right. That never-ending climb up the stairs. Yeah. And I think it gives you the confidence as well to know that you can cope with these situations.
Yeah. And also, I think the other thing as well is, because we are a narrow-body aircraft, it's quite accessible for members of the public to come up, and always delighted to see people on the flight deck. But a good number of the passengers that we get who do come to visit the flight deck are often expressing some degree of concern as to the safety of flight in general. So I think it feels nice that you have been trained, because they're trusting you. They're putting a lot of faith in your abilities to be able to get them to the destination safely. And even though we have to suffer in the manner that we do, it's nice to know that we can deliver that safety back to people like that.
Now, the simulator is hard work, passing your checks. And you were doing it in some pretty antisocial times of the day. How do you feel about that?
Operational necessity, isn't it? It is one of the, I don't want to say downsides of the job, but there is the expectation that you can perform at antisocial times of the day. So luckily, thanks to my experiences working in numerous colourful jobs, I'm used to leaping into action in the small hours of the morning. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to watch your body kind of firing into life and stuff and responding to these difficult situations. But suffice to say, what he's alluding to was a couple of 3 a.m. starts to get ready for a simulator report time of 5.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
That's good. Well, I'm so glad you got through okay. Now, I was enthralled listening to your story of what you had to do to get into the industry, but now you've got your seat, you've got a decent job with a well-respected airline. Is it all you hoped for?
It's an interesting one. It really is. I love my job to bits, and it's not a caveat to something disastrous. One thing I will say is that I think a lot of people who manage to achieve what they always dreamed of doing get to the top of it and realize that it was always a mountain there that was climbable. So it perhaps maybe you start to realize that there is certain operational difficulties in the job, getting up early, a lot of disruption. One thing I do feel as though I used to work a lot more hours in the week. I work a lot less now, but the physiological changes that you go through, obviously with constant pressurization, depressurization cycles, circadian issues and stuff, it adds a lot of challenge to the job. Would I swap it? No, never.
Well, that's great. That's because that's the be-all and end-all of it, really.
Yeah.
Do you really enjoy your job? If you do, then it's easy.
It's great because, I work with a lot of very fascinating and wonderful people from all sorts of different walks of life. Some people like myself who kind of struggle through the hard route, other people who are fortunate to have people who funded them through the training, but they've all got interesting stories to tell, and it's just nice to work with such a vibrant cross-section of society.
Brilliant.
Privileged to do the job.
If you don't mind me saying, yours is about the most fascinating I've come across for a long time.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, thanks very much indeed. We're going to head off to the pub very shortly, Jeff. I'm just going to ask Joseph to hand this back to you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. And I hope you manage to come over at some point soon and finally might be able to meet you in person. I know he tried whilst I was living out in the States, but nonetheless, I look forward to the future and hopefully catching up with you all soon.
I do too. And if you happen to be going to the PTUK 600th episode just under a month from now, then I'll get to meet you there. If not, we'll work something else out.
Isn't that marvelous? Yeah. We're looking forward to seeing you, Jeff. Can't wait. Anyway, my enormous thanks to Joseph. The more he told me about his life and what he'd had to do to generate money and all the hurdles, whether it be academic or just looking for new jobs, training all the time, etc. Everything he had to do to get himself into a position where he could get training, pay for his own training to get the job. It just makes you realize what drive he had and actually how capable he is. He's, everything from milking cows to radioactive isotope transport. I'm going, what? That's unbelievable.
It's a very inspirational story. If there's a will, there's a way, right? And he just displayed that wonderfully.
In spades, yeah. Lovely guy as well. You'd enjoy his company, and he, I'm sure, will get together with us perhaps during the 600th. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I noticed that there's not a lot of men that I have to look up to, both metaphorically and physically. Nick, you're a tall guy. And he looked like he might be an inch or two over you, just based on the video. I don't know if he was sitting a lot closer to the camera, but I bet he squeezes into the cockpit sometimes.
Yeah, the Airbus luckily has a fairly gentlemanly sized cockpit. So
you don't have that pesky yoke in the way. Yeah,
no, exactly. And it's not like the 7.3, which can be a bit cramped. The Airbus is nice. So, he picked the right aeroplane, that's for sure. Yeah. Anyway, that was great. I enjoyed that. Looking forward to meeting Joseph again one day.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting him for the first time, hopefully soon. All right.
Right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you guys and enjoy the rest of the show. And I'll catch you a bit further down the log.
All right, sir. Thank you very much.
Good night. Good to see you.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye. Bye, Steffen.
Bye. Okay.
All right.
Let's do a couple of feedbacks.
Yeah, let's do some feedback.
Captain, incoming message.
Hi, APG crew. This is Will from Melbourne checking in. Imagine my surprise when listening to episode 702, which was about 3 episodes ago. If I've done my math correctly, to hear myself featured based on the interview I'd given to the host of the Pod Actually podcast. Yes, it's true that I was interviewed on this podcast extolling the virtues of APG, which I have been listening to since 2017. That deserves some applause right there. Nice job. All right. That was a nice fade. Although an occasional previous contributor to the Coffee Fund, I have never provided any direct feedback. So here goes. And thank you for contributing to the Coffee Fund. We really appreciate that.
Jeff, you're going to have to switch to a South African accent now.
I cannot do a South African accent.
Thought it was Australian, but now, yeah.
Yeah. I grew up in South Africa and have been interested in aviation all my life. Although pursuing a career in accounting and finance, however you would like to pronounce it, I did manage to get my private pilot's license, which I still regard as one of my major achievements in life. As Captain Nick has explained, the runway in Johannesburg, is extra long to allow for the fact that Joburg is 5,750 feet above sea level. That's high, yeah. Try climbing to an even higher altitude than that in a Cessna 150 on a hot day to practice stalls. Just getting there often took the bulk of the lesson time. I can imagine. Although not current at the moment, I do go with an instructor every so often to fly some circuits, as the urge to fly never leaves. My other aviation highlights in life range from having flown in a Tiger Moth biplane a birthday gift from my family, to experiencing a flight on the Concorde from Washington, D.C. to London, and even a hot air balloon ride. Wow, too bad Captain Nick's not here to say congrats for that. Yeah. Living in Los Angeles in the 1980s, I was also fortunate to have had the opportunity to watch an actual space shuttle landing at Andrews Air Force Base in California, which was incredible.
Isn't it Edwards Air Force
Yeah, it
Base?
is Edwards. I'm thinking, wait a minute, Andrews is in Washington. Yeah, Edwards is the Air Force Base to which he's referring.
Andrew and Edward were brothers.
Probably.
It's easy to confuse them.
Yeah, and they were both disciples of Jesus. Oh, no, just Andrew was, not Edward. Okay. A business relocation led me to Australia, and after many years in the corporate environment, I have now transitioned from corporate life into the education industry, where I teach finance-related courses at a local university. Believe it or not, aviation features significantly in my finance classes, as I firmly believe there are many lessons to be learned from piloting a plane that are directly applicable to business in general and to the finance function in particular. So I'm interchangeably pronouncing finance and finance.
I'm confused which class he teaches. Does he teach two classes?
Yes.
Okay.
My students are always surprised to hear this until I elaborate. For example, when I teach about financial forecasting with the exercise of creating a quantitative expectation of the future performance of a business, I quote this saying from IATEO, the International Aviation Training and Education Organization: "Never let an airplane take you somewhere your brain didn't get to 5 minutes earlier." Oh, that's good advice. What this means is that you should fly your airplane with your head and not your hands, because as a pilot, you're always thinking ahead. What will happen next? What could happen? And if it does happen, what do I do? I adapt this quote to say, never let your organization take you somewhere your financial forecast didn't get to earlier. Wow, that's cool. It hammers home the importance of planning for the future, where the objective to anticipate what may lie ahead so resources can be put in place in advance to avoid any unpleasant surprises. I have a few more aviation analogies I use to illustrate concepts which the students appreciate as they help explain some of the more tricky topics from a different perspective. I've had aviation professionals in my courses too, and was concerned how they would react, but luckily they all confirmed that the anecdotes I used were relevant and useful, so that reassured and inspired me to keep going. The time difference in Australia precludes me from joining the live audience for any APG shows. However, as it turns out, my son and his family will be moving to the U.S. for his work this July, and my wife and I also plan to return to spend a few months back in Southern California, so perhaps you will see me joining then. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah, remember to subscribe, to follow us on a couple of the social medias, and then you'll know when we're doing it. Okay, he concludes, keep up the great work, and thanks again for the shout out. My contribution to the Coffee Fund accompanies this feedback. Best wishes, Will from Melbourne. Thank you very much, Will. Willy Bagg is his nickname, and we do appreciate that, Will. And again, I Haul Boxes is very impressed. He says, fair to say that compared to the average pilot, this man is over-educated.
That's a very technical term.
Yeah, he is definitely over-educated. That's why it was so hard for me to read his feedback, because I'm not used to reading such intellectually
stimulating vocabulary.
A lot of
very articulate.
And complex sentence structures that just kind of threw me completely off. So
punctuation.
Sure did.
Yeah.
All right, let's finish with a little music, Jeff.
Shall we finish with some music? Okay, let's go to 7. So again, this is something that our wonderful guest co-host, Captain Steffen, or substitute co-host, Captain Steffen, sent or shared with the APG crew internal communications on WhatsApp. And Liz thought it funny enough and good enough to put on the show. It warranted being on the show. Thank you. So, and you'll just a little bit of a setup before I play it. you'll recall back in 702, the one where we were talking about Will and the podcast that he was featured on 702, Peter Tarantelli also sent some feedback regarding writing down taxi instructions. And so this is going to kind of tie into that a little bit. It takes place, it's a song about taxi instructions at O'Hare International Airport, Chicago O'Hare. So let's see, let me go over here to this, and I see you've already shared it. Thank you, Liz. And I'm going to hit play and see what happens.
Yeah. Your boy Poker Pilot is back at it again. ORD. You already know. Pin out, head down, don't miss a call. One shot, one clearance. Yeah. His palms sweaty, pen ready, clearance heavy, ground's calling fast, voice sharp like confetti. You blink once, miss a turn, now you're buried. Taxi diagram looking like spaghetti. You ain't ready. Ring road system, Alpha and Bravo like a racetrack. Clockwise counter, but you better not backtrack. 40-minute taxi, yeah, that's normal, that's fact. Trying to dodge a runway crossing ATC, don't slack. 2-8 center, 27 right, welcome to the madness. Join Papa Hetties, Echo, Echo, Golf, Golf. Yeah, you had this. Cross 27 left away, hold up, traffic stack. Metering got you paused while your patience gets taxed. Construction everywhere, ORD next in effect. Concourse, Delta rising, tearing up what you expect. Taxiway shifting routes, getting rechecked. Yesterday's muscle memory, yeah, forget that. You only get one red back, don't choke, don't stall. Miss one letter, now you're talking to them all. Ramp, ground, tower, yeah, they watch you fall. Penalty, taxi clearance coming long as a wall. You better copy, you better write every letter you get. This airport will bury you in concrete and jets. You only got one shot, don't you dare forget. At O'Hare, ground control ain't forgiving your mess. You better copy. Diagram lit, pin tight in your grip. One missed call and you're taking the trip all the way around the ring road. Welcome to it. This is ORD, man, you live or you quit. Runway 28 right, golf, golf, golf through Bravo, Echo, Echo, November. Classic clearance, yeah, you better remember. Spit it back clean, don't stutter, don't surrender. Cause hesitation here, that's a career ender. November, Alpha 10, Bravo, uniform, golf, taxi to Bravo 19. You scribbling fast, trying to keep it pristine, but the ink's running wild and the map's obscene. And you still gotta dodge, heavies rolling between. Charlie 1, Zulu, hold shorter, 2-7, Charlie. Simple on paper, but the flow ain't hardly predictable now. Construction changed the party. What you got yesterday, yeah, today it's gnarly. East flow, west flow, depends on the wind. Taxiways, Mike, Delta, Bravo, Golf, where do you begin? Zulu, Golf, November, Alpha, Papa, spin it again. It's a maze with engines and the clock's closing in. Now they building up terminals, tearing down lanes. Global terminal coming, yeah, they changing the game. Concourse, Echo next, everything rearranged. So the route you knew last week, they ain't the same. Long taxi times, perimeter grind, avoiding runway crossings, just circling blind. And if you miss a turn, you fall behind. Now ATC hitting you with that advice when ready to copy line. And now it's wild, you might park at a golf gate. Used to be rare, now we flexing, no debate. Slide past American like, yeah, appreciate. United moving weight, yeah, we dominate. But don't get cocky, this place humbles quick. One bad red back and you're lost in the mix. Ground's got that tone like you sure about this. Now you're writing novels just to taxi your ship. Cat 3 low this, routes get tighter. Special taxi plans, now the stakes get higher. Lights in the fog, but your brain's on fire. Trying to keep the line moving, not be the one they wire. Pin in your hand, yeah, your lifeline's real. Every letter matters when you spin that wheel. One wrong call and you feel that chill. A D don't care how long you've been at the deal. You better copy, you better write every letter you get. This airport will bury you in concrete and jets. You only got one shot, don't you dare forget. At O'Hare, ground control ain't forgiving your mess. You better copy. Diagram lit, pen tight in your grip. One missed call and you're taking the trip all the way around the ring road. Welcome to it. This is ORD, man, you live or you quit. Yeah. Pen down, break set, finally part. But tomorrow, same chaos, same game. Yeah. You better be ready to copy.
Wow.
I love it.
That was awesome. That was AI, by the way.
I kind of got that hint. The only real clue that I got was that he kept saying read back instead of read back.
Yeah.
And that tipped me. But otherwise, that was fantastic.
Loved it. It was a great.
Was it AI? Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Memo Tune is it's an AI generated song.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, now, somebody wrote the lyrics to it. Generally, those are somebody wrote that whole song out, and AI just
would
provided
assume.
Yeah.
I'm assuming so. I don't know. I've never used the service before. I don't know if you give it some general parameters and it just comes up with the lyrics as well. I don't know.
There are some of them that will write the lyrics for you, but most, I say at least more often than not, you're writing the bulk of the lyrics, and it may fill in some lines or something or help you build a chorus.
At the very beginning, he sort of says something about Pilot Jack's back at it or something. So I have the feeling that
this is probably something that this guy
actually wrote it.
Yeah, that does this kind of thing.
This may not be his first AI.
I'm going to have to check out and see what else he has out there. That was great.
That's great.
How did you stumble upon that, Captain Steffen?
It was forwarded to me. Some of my podcast group, he sent it to me. I will put it also in
his groupies.
Oh, your groupies, huh?
He's got groupies. I might go be on his podcast.
Yeah,
I beg your pardon?
Might do better.
I might go come on your podcast.
They sent it to him along with a bra.
Yeah. Well, and I really can feel with it because I'm I was a first officer then, but we accidentally almost crossed. We got so confused with the taxiways that the controller was sending us a follow me. we were kind of. It's 25 years ago.
Just
something.
stay right there. We're gonna send help.
Yeah, because we almost entered the runway. That's why. Yeah.
Wow. I tell you what, that airport is quite something, and I love the way it kind of tied in with the question about writing down your taxi clearances.
Yeah, it was
and
perfect for that.
Kind of mentioned that the ones that are kind of complicated are the ones that are typically definitely written down. Although I have to say that in my experience there, a lot of the times you didn't have a chance to read it back or read it back because. Just because the controllers were just like continuously talking and they're normally didn't even say break. They just kept on going. And you're just like, okay, I don't hear a pause there for me to read it back. So you just kind of go, okay, that's what we're going to do.
I really hope I got it right.
Yeah. And they'll be watching and they'll darn sure let you know.
You'll
when
know if
you
you
are
don't.
not following the instructions properly.
Do you have time to write down a number?
Yeah, write down a number and give you instructions on how to get to the penalty box. And they have more than one penalty box there, by the way. Yeah, so, that was great. Well, thank you for sharing that, Captain Steffen. And why don't you also share with us your podcast information so those listening can, it's a German language only, but if they speak German, you know?
We do speak German, and it has an English title. It's Come Fly With Us, but we do speak German.
See, that's false advertising right there.
How dare you?
Yeah, but you can probably use like closed captioning, right? I bet, does YouTube do the English translation with the closed captioning?
It's not on YouTube. It's only audio, so.
Oh, well then never mind.
Unfortunately.
Plug it into AI. It'll fix everything.
We'll figure it out.
Of course. I provide transcript. That's no problem.
And you say again, come fly with me?
Us.
Or come fly with us. Okay, very good.
Fly with me.
All right. Yeah, that was the song that I was thinking of. Yeah. Okay. All right, very good. Well, we're going to now wrap things up, and we're going to point you over to our website, airlinepilotguy.com, where you'll find information about our crew and our wonderful community, some of whom are with us today in our live audience, our live chat. And you can see the link to our YouTube video there. You can, let's see, Plain Tales, there's a special page for that, and merchandise, and what else? Library, an APG library, and so much more. Calendar.
The calendar?
Yeah. Yep, the calendar. So head over, check it out, take a look, and we're also on social media.
Yeah, we're on Facebook at facebook.com/airlinepilotguy. That's my go-to to find out when we're recording the show. We're on X, formerly known as Twitter, at APG Crew, Instagram.com/APG Crew, and YouTube.com/airlinepilotguy, where you can watch the live episodes, or as Nick likes to say, watch the sausage being made.
Yes. And it doesn't smell.
There's
It's a good
stinky in
smell.
there.
Yeah.
We
all
haven't
right.
quite mastered smell-o-vision yet.
No, thank goodness. And, well, oh, yep, here we go. Right behind that door, right behind me there's a bathroom and a shower, and I think I know who's in it. Hello, would you tell us about Slack?
Okay, but I'm dripping wet.
That's okay. Just wrap a towel around you, please, or that special robe that you like to wear with the stripes on it. And tell us all about Slack, please.
APG listeners, please join us on our Slack team. Slack is a communication, coordination, and sharing platform that works on your mobile, laptop, or browser. On Slack, we share news and ideas, we suggest episode and plain tales topics, we plan events and meetups. To get into the Slack team, please email me at slack@airlinepilotguy.com. That's SLACK, Sierra Lima Alpha Charlie Kilo @airlinepilotguy.com. Or send me a tweet with your preferred email address to @Hillel, and I'll send you an invitation. That's Hillel, spelled Hotel India 11 Echo 1, and see you in Slack.
Thanks a lot, Hillel. And we'd also like to bring in the woman responsible for managing this sausage factory.
Where? Who?
Right there. You.
Oh.
Liz Piper, producer extraordinaire. Thank you so much for all the work you put in
My pleasure.
for the show.
My
And
pleasure.
again, thank you, Captain Steffen, for joining us. AJ,
For
as
sure.
always, great to have you with us. And you, our live audience, we love you so much. And yeah, so with that, we're going to stop or end the show by saying, wishing you clear skies, unlimited visibility, and tailwinds. Take care, and God bless.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much for being on the show.
See you next time.
Yeah, he's up in the sky. It's the airline pilot guy.
Good day.
I used to be such a good pilot till I started APG. I opened doors for little old ladies. I helped them to their seats. Airline pilot guy, I fly America. Oh, airline pilot guy, he can land in heavy fog. I got no friends 'cause I'm always flying. I just don't have the time. But I can land this old plane. I can land it just fine. Airline pilot guy, I fly